Okay, looks like I am live. I don't know how well I'm coming in on either of the two platforms I'm streaming on right now. I'm currently should be streaming on YouTube, on my YouTube channel, as well as on Facebook. But I suppose I'll see once I'm done with this initial kind of test broadcast. For anybody who hasn't seen me before, welcome. My name is Michael Ellis. I'm a lot of things. For the past few years, I have been a psychic consultant. I did tarot card readings, and I still do that. I still do psychic consultations. However, I have done a lot more than that. I am also a martial artist. I've been involved in martial arts for over 25 years, actually closer to like 40 years coming up because I started when I was about 14 years old and I'm almost 54. So I'm coming up on 40 years training in the martial arts. Kickboxing, Shotokan karate, a little bit of Jeet Kune Do, some Filipino stick fighting. Um, Pretty eclectic, but I've used it as a method of staying in shape for the past few years. And I am trying to find a bit more focus in my publishing in my channel. I happen to suffer a bit from ADHD, and I'm a little bit autistic. I have a son who's autistic, and through caring for him and taking some self assessments, I've found out that am likely um, I'm likely pretty high functioning autistic. But that's neither here nor there. What I'm going to talk to you today is about a new direction I'm going for my channel. And it's going to be all of my social media channels are going to be in line with this. I'm no longer going to be doing online tarot readings. I'm not going to be talking about the tarot, so to speak. I'm going to be talking still about law of attraction, manifestation work, but really, I'm going to be talking about things that have been problems in my life for many years that I have used some very specific practices to overcome. Uh, Number one, as I said, I've been in the martial arts for 40 years. However, I've struggled with weight for much of my life. I got into the martial arts largely because I was bullied as a child, a preteen. When I turned 12, I started taking Shotokan karate at the local YMCA. And then I kind of got out of it for a bit. And then when I was 13, I actually re enrolled in the actual school that the instructor at the YMCA had opened up a school. And I decided that I was going to pull the trigger and go ahead and train. And I trained in Shotokan karate for, I believe, about 5 years. I attained instructor level. Um, and got my black belt in Shotokan Karate as well as Hakaru Jiu-Jitsu, which is a Japanese form. I mean, Jiu-Jitsu is Japanese originally, but a lot of people hear Jiu-Jitsu and they think Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. This isn't Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. It's got a lot of similarities, but it is much more like stand-up fighting with joint locks and throws, not as much the whole like ground fighting. Although I did get into that um, and into the more ground fighting aspects in high school because I was in my high school wrestling team and I was pursuing both high school wrestling and karate when I was 16, 17, that age group. So like I said, I struggled even through all that. I was always about 20 or 30 pounds overweight. And it was just something that a lot of people at the dojo used to tease me about. I was like, we're going to get rid of some of that baby fat on you, Mike. You could actually go into kickboxing and you could actually be, a force to be reckoned with if you drop some of that weight. And, I did a little bit of amateur kickboxing when I was in my, late teens, early 20s. Didn't really appeal to me at that time. I just basically trained on my own after that. The school closed down, and I basically became a self-home trainer for the rest of my life. I never personally opened a school myself, and I never really trained much at other schools. But over the years, I developed a lot of different ways of training that actually kept me in good physical shape Um, but I think that the missing component was really uh, weight training and diet. I discovered kettlebells as a method of increasing my fitness, increasing my upper body strength, and that really helped me turn a lot of the body fat, because I was like at my largest, I think I was like 280 pounds. Now I'm down to about 220. I still need to lose weight. Had a back injury over the past 6 months. It's just starting to get to the point where I can start doing exercises again. And I put on about 25 pounds. I was down to about 190, 195 region. I was feeling really good at that weight. Um, and I injured my back doing something stupid. And, I was laid up, couldn't do a lot of hip pain. And, through some carefully researched, you know, um, physical therapy. Again, I didn't trust anybody to do physical therapy on me. I guess I got a little bit of trust issues. you know, I don't, I don't really put a lot of faith into experts. I've always wanted to. I figured that I'm the one that should be an expert on my body. So I did some physical therapy on my own. Practiced some of Ido Portal's kind of primal movement, animal movements, which is really very in keeping with like some martial arts training. And I incorporated some of that. And, I just feel like I'm at a point in my life now where I can really start actually helping other people. There's a lot of other guys in their 40s and 50s that maybe they're out of shape, maybe they're depressed. I know I was when I gained the weight. When I gained that much weight, I was like going, this is like, I'm starting to fall apart. I was convinced that I was starting to get old. I was like, I mean, it was already, I already lost some of this and this has already turned gray, but I never felt old until, I got up, I would get up and go, oh, my back, oh, my back. It really made me, I really took a hit to my self-esteem, really, for lack of a better term. And I realized at that point how much I'd been sedentary and how much I had gotten out of, especially when I started focusing more on doing phone readings. During the pandemic, I was doing phone readings. I was doing lots of Zoom calls, and I was really sitting on my ass for a lot of that time. And I realize now that that's probably what weakened my back muscles and what made it that much easier for me to get injured. So basically, I'm just going on and on. What I'm looking at, I'm calling this new program the Psychic Warrior Program, because uh, it's like I'm trying to combine mind, body, and spirit into a way of practice that's modern, not based necessarily on ancient ideas of fitness, but it's got like modern ideas of fitness and diet. The way I lost the weight, by the way, is through intermittent fasting and focusing on eating protein and fat, along with leafy greens and fiber. I eliminated anything that was processed: breads, pastas, cereal grains of all kinds, sugar, absolutely got rid of sugar. And that really made it a lot easier for the weight to just kind of like drop off me, especially when I started integrating using kettlebells. And I started developing some of my own exercises using some Filipino stick fighting flow drills, but instead of using sticks where you would, flow with the sticks like this, and the sticks are like rattan, like very lightweight rattan. Instead, well, let me show you. Instead, I would grab baseball bats. Let's see. Yeah, there's one. And there's another. I would grab like small, lightweight baseball bats like this, kids baseball bats, and I would start doing. Let's see, can I back up here? Yeah. All right. Yeah. So I would start doing exercises like this, right? Right. And slowly building up my shoulder strength. And this is somewhat like mace bells and Indian club bells. But I couldn't really afford those. But I could afford baseball bats. And they're not that heavy. You can definitely get them in a variety of weights. Kids' ones are like a few ounces to maybe a half a pound, but you can get softball bats that are up to a pound and a half, 2 pounds. And I started, let's get back in front of the camera. I started doing that, about, ooh, I started integrating that about 6 months ago, maybe 8 months ago. And I found it really would help me physically. And I started to integrate some visualization work and manifestation work so that I could use the power of my mind to help heal my body, right? Take in the right foods, do the right exercise, but also take in the right mental state, right? If you're depressed and you exercise, yeah, it's going to make you feel better, right? But if you actively work on your mind, if you actively work on your mind through affirmation, through visualization, through meditation, all the shuns, all the shuns, uh, you find that your rate of healing gets faster, your recovery is much easier to. Did I lose it? I think I'm still there. Okay. Um, where was I? Your recovery becomes a lot quicker. Uh, you don't feel as depressed sometimes. Sometimes even when you're going out and working out, you have some days where you just don't feel like getting up. You have some days, guy in the 50s, some days you're like going, I just want to sleep in. But before you go to bed, you do certain visualizations, certain meditations as you're dropping off to sleep, imagining what you want your day to be like the next day. And you find that even though you're up early and you're awake, you're not tired and you're ready to pop out of bed. And I find that even those chronic aches and pains that I still occasionally get, I mean, I'm not going to say it's perfect. Nothing's perfect. I still occasionally get hip pain. I still occasionally get back pain. But it doesn't affect me as much. It doesn't hurt as much, and it doesn't affect my mentality as much. It doesn't affect me as much emotionally. And I've also found that by integrating the diet, exercise, and meditation, it's given me a lot more drive to change my financial outlook. I've never been one that's really cared much about acquiring money. I only worked really enough. I only had enough clients and I only worked enough just to pay the bills and kind of keep the bill collectors away. I was never one that had like this real drive to make a lot of money and to secure myself financially. I never really worried about it, but I think that what it really was is that I had I had some limiting thoughts. I had some limiting pre-programmed ideas about money. I have family that have a lot of money. I've got some very close family members that are very wealthy, very wealthy. But their attitude towards money, I always thought was very unhealthy. And how they use the money, I felt like a lot of people, and not just people in my family, but I've seen this in general, that a lot of people use money as a way to manipulate people, of getting people to do what they want by kind of, bribery or threats. And, when I was young, I used to see this and it didn't make me feel very good. It's like, do I really want to be like that? Do I really want to get rich if it's going to turn me into kind of an asshole? So yeah, for a long time, it's not like I hated money. I never thought that I actually hated money. I liked money. It just was not something I actually felt compelled to acquire in any large amounts. But when you work on yourself and you work on your body and you work on your mind and you work on your soul, you start realizing, hey, I'm actually worth that. I actually would like to be able to go out and have a nice vacation. I'd actually like to be able to go out and maybe go on an airplane and like ride in first class. It would be nice to own a brand new car rather than a used car. And so I started educating myself financially. I started to go and understand what real assets are, and what just, wasting money versus spending money on things that are going to actually increase your wealth. And so all these things I've decided I'm going to kind of start publishing. I'm going to start doing articles, videos, live streams, um, not just to these platforms like Facebook and YouTube. I'm going to start publishing stuff to TikTok, um, Instagram, um, and any other platforms that I can, because I really want to get this information out. I think that there's a lot of people that can be helped like this. I'm especially looking to help guys because I know that, and if you're anything like me, maybe you're a little bit of an oddball. Maybe you're a little bit of a person that's just always felt like they were a little out of step with mainstream society. Maybe you felt like you weren't worthy. Maybe you felt like I'm too weird to become rich. I'm too weird to actually be successful. And I want to let you know, it's the weirdos that can be very successful. I mean, look at Elon Musk. That guy is a weirdo, and I love him, man. I love Elon. Elon's awesome, but he's not normal. In fact, I'm pretty sure he's autistic. And so he's not normal. Peter Thiel, also autistic, not normal at all. And yeah, I'm. It's not that I'm going to be abandoning any sort of practices. I mean, I still love doing tarot cards. I still have a practice where I do psychic consultations for people. But that's just not what I'm going to focus on right now. I really feel like focusing on physical fitness, focusing on mental fitness, focusing on getting rid of old emotional garbage, all the old baggage. You might see me break out a tarot deck once in a while still, because I may be using it in order to make a point, or using it as a focus for meditation or some kind of guided visualization. But you're really not going to see as much straight ahead like me doing readings. I've kind of gotten to the point where I really don't want to do, public tarot readings where I go, hello, Libra, and here's what you're going to be expecting in the next month. It just is, brother, what's that, brother? You know what I mean? It's just, I just don't have any real motivation to do those types of videos. I still love doing the readings for people. I love consulting with people on an individual one-to-one basis. So I might do some live streams where if people got a question, I might break out a tarot deck or just start, giving my intuitive perceptions on something. But really, what Psychic Warrior is really about is the integration of a healthy mind, a healthy body, and a healthy spirit. And part of this, by the way, is it's the warrior concept, right? I mean, I was into the martial arts before I was into metaphysics or the occult. In fact, in some ways, martial arts kind of fostered an interest in things like meditation and the powers of the mind over mind over matter, that sort of thing. And I really have felt like there's a lot of crossover in practices that are meant to improve your body physically, and things that are meant to improve your mind and improve your spirit. And one of the things I think men are lacking now, I mean, everybody's lacking this, but I think that it's especially true for men, is a feeling that you can take care of business, a feeling of inner strength, right? So many people I see, so many men, young men, middle-aged men, even old men, just seem like they're defeated. They seem like they were defeated by life, and that they don't have any real fire within them, right? And I think that what I really want to do is I want to rekindle the fire, that warrior spirit, the spirit of like the berserker spirit of Odin, right? That's what I'm talking about. It's like this warrior spirit. The ancient, not necessarily the Vikings, but the ancient Nordic peoples. They were warriors. They were farmers, but they were very spiritual. They were very spiritual. They believed in the powers of the soul and the powers of the spirit world and the powers of the mind. And I think that part of the problem, especially over the last 20 years or so, is that we've had this splintering of like, oh, well, if you're into like weight training, then you probably are not going to be into astrology. Or if you're into astrology, then you're not going to really be into talking about, martial arts or self-defense. And I think all those things are important. We're living in a time that's becoming increasingly dangerous too. I see a splintering of society, and part of this is, I think, the reason why men are kind of feeling lost. And I can only speak from my own perspective. I mean, I have a wife and I have a daughter, and so I do feel like I understand somewhat the female perspective. And it's hard to be a woman nowadays too. But we don't live in a society. If you're living in the United States, we don't live in a society that's particularly, I don't know exactly, I don't know, altruistic, I guess. We don't have people looking out for each other like they used to. I mean, I'm not even saying that when I was young, people particularly looked out for each other, but it seemed like they did more than they do today. It seems like people are more disconnected from each other than ever. They're disconnected from themselves. They're disconnected from their neighbors. They're disconnected from society in general, and they're disconnected from everything. And it's like, what do they connect to? They connect to this. They connect to the internet. They connect to video games. They connect to social media. And I'm never going to say that those things are bad, because they've been a great boon to mankind. But there's a such thing as going overboard, going too far. We've gone too far in the direction of relying on technology to provide entertainment and to provide information and to provide experiences. We need to get back into our bodies and start moving our bodies again. Get out, stop sitting, right? I mean, I'm sitting only because it's a little easier to do a podcast when you're sitting. But you know what? I'm going to stand for the rest of this, because I realize that sitting too long can actually be really bad for you. I mean, this is something that is established science. Look it up yourself if you don't believe me. Sitting actually shortens your life. So, well, I've been on here for, let's say, 23 minutes already. So I'm going to wrap this up. But in the near future, you can see, I mean, maybe tomorrow even, I'm going to be talking about things like diet. I might even be showing myself cooking. I'm actually quite a good cook. And so you might even see me breaking out the phone and recording myself preparing a meal or two, just to show you how easy it can be to really eat very, very well. That's very healthy, very inexpensive, and easy to do. And that's actually my whole thing about all of these things. All of these things are inexpensive. Kettlebells don't cost much. And if you don't have kettlebells, I also am a big proponent of using sandbags, which I'll get into that in a future video about how to make your own set of various weights of sandbags. Less than $10 for for enough weight that'll actually get you jacked if you want to go that way. So yeah, I'm going to be covering a lot of that type of stuff, homemade equipment, things that you can acquire for very little money. And I'm not talking about being frugal just to be frugal. The idea is to be frugal so that you can take that money that you save and put it into assets. What assets? The ones I'm focusing on right now: gold, silver, Bitcoin, maybe a handful of other cryptocurrencies, but basically Bitcoin, and eventually real estate. Now, some people are waiting for the real estate market to crash before they actually invest. I'm just waiting to find a good deal. I'm actually started studying some creative real estate investment techniques. You might be familiar with it as the old no money down kinds of things that you may have saw on TV like 15 or 20 years ago, but now you don't really see that because who watches television anymore? But there's some really creative ways of uh, structuring a method of buying a house by allowing the seller to provide much of the financing. And really, this is something that I really want to end with. All of this health and spiritual health and mental health and physical health, they're amazing and they are worth any amount of money, right? However, it's still important that you are financially healthy. And I'm going to tell you this right now. If you got a job, it's never going to work. You're never going to get where you want to go through having an income. You got to start having an asset, whether that's starting a business or investing in stocks, although stocks aren't really that great as much as they might be up when you figure it in for inflation, how much more money there is out in circulation right now. They're not really doing that well. But that, precious metals, real estate, Bitcoin, as I said, these are the things that are going to continue to grow. They're going to continue to grow. They're going to, and they will pay dividends. They will possibly make you very wealthy. So that's what I'm going to be covering. That's what the nature of this show is. And I'm going to be calling it the Psychic Warrior Program or the Psychic Warrior Podcast, maybe. I don't know. Hey, if you got a suggestion for good names, go ahead and leave them down in the comments. I'd really appreciate it. If you have any questions for me or any comments, suggestions, please leave them in the comments. I really appreciate the feedback. This is not a one-man operation. I don't want it to be. I want to get a lot of feedback from the people that watch these. Eventually I want to have people on the live stream. I used to do interviews like years ago, and I really enjoyed that. And I'd like to do that again, but focusing more on these kinds of topics. So, okay. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this. And, until next time, I hope you have a wonderful day and, keep your head up and stay happy. I just realized I don't know how to stop the live stream. Oh, there we go. Here, I'm using Restream. This is literally the first time I used it. So anyway, have a wonderful day.